Okay, we'll call this meeting to order. Welcome, everybody. If you did not sign in at the sign-in by door, please do, so we know who is in attendance. We always begin our meetings by asking you first to silence your cell phone, if you have not already. And we are live streaming through Facebook. Who's the other one?
YouTube.
You did. Okay. So just so you know you're live, if you would join me with the pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sure. Darcy Capper? Here. Angela Brown? Here. Jasper DeChristopher?
Here.
Jenny Lewis?
Here.
Tara Shields? Here. Keith Gosha? Ray Armstrong?
Here.
I will read our adopted policy since we have some audience members tonight. It is the adopted policy of the Berlin Township Zoning Commission that each applicant or agenda item will be given 10 minutes or at the discretion of the chairperson to make a formal presentation. Chair will allow questions from the commission members in order to provide a timely and orderly discussion of business for consideration. Finally, the audience will then be given up to 3 minutes or at the discretion of the chairperson for each speaker to respond, and the chairperson may omit or hesitate. All comments from the audience must be addressed to the chairperson. Ms. Keith, everybody, this meeting was absent.
Yes.
624.
624, okay. Is this the okay. Yeah, June 24, 2025 on the Berlin Township Facebook site and also on the website.
We have minutes before us from our last meeting, which was on June 10th. Someone, please.
Motion to approve the BZC Meeting minutes from June 10th, 2025.
All seven?
Mr. DeChristopher?
Yes.
Ms. Capper?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Lewis?
Yes.
Ms. Shields?
Yes. All right, so we have tonight before us BZC 18-003, which is Berlin Farm West Final Development Plan for Phase 7, 9, and 11. It's filed by MI Homes of Central Ohio at 4131 Brook Avenue, Suite 260, Columbus, Ohio, 42219. Applicant is submitting the final development plan for 83.58 acres. There are 5 parcel numbers there that I will not read, but it's located at Berlin Station Road in Delaware, Ohio. So the applicant here to come forward.
My name is Max Block with MI Homes, 4131 North Avenue, Columbus 43219. Really, this is just our final development plan for the last 3 phases of this job. This has been, as you guys I'm sure familiar, a very, very successful job. It's been a really big hit for our customers and home buyers, and I think a really great community for the area. We just finished our completion of the community gardens, I think this past fall, and I think there's 140 garden spots that are all rented out by the residents, or I think it's free to the residents this year, and I think one of them has been given to the school as sort of a presentation garden for them. But yeah, this is just the last three phases of this job. It'll probably be built out, over the course of the next 3-4 years, depending on the sales pace, but really is the exact same thing as the previous zoning that's been approved. So really, usually in these things, I'll usually get a summary of changes from our engineers that have submitted it, but this was one that literally it is the exact same, where there have been no changes. So yeah, with that, I asked for your approval, and happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Angela, do you want to go first?
Sure. I like that overall we've reduced by 88 lots. That was very nice to see. one of the first questions I'll have is, there is it's a spot up in zone 11, and it is, I couldn't figure out what it was. It's near the dog park. What is that shape?
The four little circles, is that what you're?
No, that's not the, it's right off of the dog, so that's, I know that those are all the different mixes, but just barely south of the dog park.
The parking lot. That's the parking lot for the dog park as well as that.
Okay,
trail.
I wasn't sure if it was another garden of some sort, okay.
No,
that's
just
perfect.
parking.
Okay, do we have any, throughout the community, I love all the walking paths, but have you been installing benches throughout the walking paths, and different areas of the walking paths?
You know, that's a good question. I have to look at.
I didn't find it
shows
anywhere.
in our landscape plan. But I'd have to double check. I guess my assumption is no. You said you just drove through, so I would have to assume no.
Okay. So, and obviously, I mean, this has been under development for years at this point, but we have been pushing for benches to be put along walking paths, and maybe that's something that, just because it's great, you are walking, right, but if you want to sit down and take a rest, or depending on the person's age, right, or your physical shape, they just don't want to be able to sit down and rest. So that is something that we're asking, we put along walking paths, and it's not a lot, but it's just every so often.
Yeah.
To have something like that. My next thing was, I saw in the runoff, and this is just, I don't know this, I just don't know what this means. But so back in appendix, what is that, L? It talks about the post-developed analysis of the watershed, and it's talking on offsite C and offsite C road. That time of concentration seems, everything else was lower within 10 minutes, but that one was a lot higher, and it's talking about that it's along those offsites, and that looks like it's closer to other homes. Is that an area that we have concern about flooding?
So I'm just still trying to catch up to where you mentioned appendix L, what were you reading?
Appendix L, and then section 4.0, the post-developed analysis.
Okay.
It's the runoff curve number, and then the percent impervious, and then your time of concentration. So it says like for, these are tributary areas, so offsite C, it's over off of basin C, and it's 3 acres.
Okay.
And it says that overall is, it's only 8% impervious, and it's 25 minutes from the time of concentration. So is that saying that, and again, I'm just asking the question because I saw those two big, larger differences in offsite C road, especially because it's a road, it's 44 minutes. So I wanted to understand, is that something that it could be prone to flooding?
So I don't have the expertise to answer it perfectly. To the best of my knowledge, EMH&T has done tremendous work to engineer all offsite stormwater and make sure that there's places for everything to go. And then again, it's obviously been approved by Delaware County themselves. So, in short and in my simple mind, the answer would be no, there's not a concern, especially by, the engineers who designed it as well as approved it. So that should not be a concern.
I just found it odd because everything else is in blue, but those two areas specifically are in red this is it's still under appendix L, and it's sheet 2/2. It's the large, it's the second, or the fourth large sheet, and everything else is in blue, but then that section is kind of red, which is why I thought it was maybe being called out as a risk.
Yeah, no, not to my knowledge. I mean, obviously, it's a requirement that we have to keep all detention on site and then, you know, make sure it goes to the place that it needs to go off site. But no, I do not believe that should be an issue.
Okay, if we can check into that just to make sure, like I said, because it did, when I read it and then I came back to try to figure out where those places were and I saw that it was in red, that just kind of piqued my interest a little bit more, but this isn't gonna be a problem, right? Because we do have so many issues of developments coming in and then yards getting flooded, roadways getting flooded, basements flooding because of it. On the mounding you have surrounding the other homes, you have a lot of mounding, but I didn't see any tall trees on top. Have you been planting trees on top of mounding?
So it would just be per our landscape plan. So that's exactly where it shows all the trees that we will be planting.
I didn't see that.
Street trees.
I saw all the street trees, but I didn't see any trees on top of mounding.
No, then if it wasn't in there, then the answer would be no. There's no trees on top.
Okay, that is something, again, moving forward, just so you guys know when you come in for another development, and obviously this has been going down, it's been many years in the making, but it is something that we are very much trying to, because it's not only screening for the community that is taking shape, right, that's being built, it's also respecting the neighbors that are already there, that have been there, and their privacy and property. And then my last thing is in terms of the gas service, and it sounds like it's done, but there's not any issues at this point, but in the 2018, I say this kind of after 2019, but on the 2018, it said that it wasn't confirmed yet if there would be service for gas, natural gas in the area, and then the 2019 didn't call it out that there was.
So I guess I know that some of this was the previous Long Hill that has since been amended and completely changed. But I can definitely confirm there's gas service to all of these.
Okay.
I believe it's Columbia, but don't quote me on that.
It's the
But I
same
don't know.
suburban natural gas, but again, that was from 2019. So, okay, all right. Those were my questions.
I would agree with the bench issue. I mean, I think I know a specific number of what we would have in mind, but it does look like a pretty long path in this particular section, so I think that put some attention then. The side yard setback, I know that there was a divergence to allow like the eaves and
Some of the improvements.
yeah, so it's like, I think the minimum's like 9.5. How, is there any, like, is that the same as what it is in the rest of what you've already developed?
Yes.
Consistent?
Yes.
So like, out of curiosity, how, I don't know if you can answer this question, but how much of the development does go down to that level? Like, I mean, how often are you using that minimal setback?
So not often, I should say, because most of the houses that we build are 40 feet wide, and all of these lots are 70 foot wide. So very rarely, when we do third car garage, that adds 10 feet basically, so then it's 50 feet, but it's still, you're very rarely using the encroachments. Yes. Yes.
that was the only thing I had. Thank you.
So do you just kind of guess like what percentage of homes you needed to use that side yard for events?
I don't know. I know we usually get them in most of our subdivisions where we do 5 and 6 foot side yards, because we'll usually do a 5 foot, 40 foot house, and then usually the eaves or the overhangs will encroach, up to a foot into the side yard. But in this specific development, maybe some of our bigger homes, what we call our signature series, would encroach. But I don't believe any of our, what we call our smart homes, which is in this section 7, 9, and 11, would encroach into that, given the 7 foot minimum lot size.
So I'm just curious then, why even ask for divergence?
So that again just goes back to the original zoning, and I can ask our team as to why we originally put it in there and what the thought process was. I know we've looked at our product several times over the years, just with the changing market conditions and what buyers are looking for, but to the specifics of why we asked for that, I don't know if I can give you a great answer.
Because, from our perspective, when there's divergence, that means you can do 100% of your homes using divergence.
Right.
And for you can use 0.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
Divergences, because there's not the specificity.
Yeah.
So I had a question about the landscape plan and the trees. I was not certain what the placement was, if those trees are on the side of the sidewalk closest to the street, or if they're closer to the homes.
So that's a good question. I know sometimes we put them in that, what they call a tree lawn, which is in between the sidewalk and the street. And in some cases, we put them in the actual owner's lot or yard. Let me see how this is set up. So these would be outside into the actual yard itself. So I believe that these would be owner maintained rather than.
That's what I was hoping, but I don't like to assume.
Yeah.
Because once they're on the other side of the sidewalk, they become
Right. You're
over the leaves issue because of the sidewalks. I do have a question. I agree with the benches. I think it would be nice, it's good to make a commitment to put some benches. I don't know what's reasonable, but these are long pathways.
Okay.
And they're very nice. I like the pathways.
Yeah.
And I had another question, but it was escaping my brain, so I'll pass it on to Jasmine.
I'm right. He's right.
Okay.
I know I can't really listen and write at the same time.
Now I hear
Thank you.
Overall, on the plan, I didn't really have a whole lot of angst about it. I do like the fact that how you're using, so to speak, the dog park and kind of your different mix of the walking path and kind of the vegetation along with the retention to kind of create a buffer between that back end of the development and the northern neighbors.
Right.
So obviously there's this stuff out road there that may go somewhere eventually, we don't know, but the parking for the dog park, the one thing I did have is, I don't know if it's called out anywhere, but kind of the mix where you've got that vegetation on the loop by the dog park.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about, I guess, how that will be maintained? In other words, you called out a pollinator, an evening, a shade, and a bird.
Yeah.
But is that installed by a developer, then maintained by the association?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Kind of like the no-mow areas.
Say that again.
So they kind of call, I think you called it out,
Yeah.
like the no-mow areas, like how it would be really weeded and.
That's right. Yeah, it probably gets maintained maybe once a year, so they grow up. They grow to a foot or a foot and a half type thing, and then the age.
Okay. I didn't know if that would still be those specific 4 areas, because you have to kind of call that as something almost separate.
Yeah,
If those would be still no mow, or if they would be maintained a little differently?
Yeah, no, still technically.
And really, that's all I had. I didn't have any issues with it. Because again, I actually just drove through the other night,
Yeah,
just to kind of look at it, because it'd been a while since I've been in there.
yeah,
There's a lot of changes, and I noticed that really, from a standpoint of what you're building, you're not really changing what you're doing compared to what you've already done.
correct.
So
That's
from that
exactly right.
aspect, I was kind of keen more on what's a little different.
Yeah.
And I do, driving by, I mean, you can tell that garden area in the front is heavily used. I was surprised.
Yeah, we were too. I mean, we were really shocked at the interest in it, and it really sparked us to like, maybe we should think about this in a few other places. I mean, this was really well taken by the residents.
So are you gonna charge for it for the first year?
So it's gonna be up to, we have a manager that basically manage it, which is one of the residents. And it'll be up to the HOA's discretion after that point. We obviously were like, I mean,
Right.
we're not making any money off of it.
Right.
We just wanna have it as a community feature.
Very cool.
Yeah, it was a great, I mean, our planner did a great job with it and everything, so we were really happy with how it turned out. Hopefully the dog park and those few little, the pollinators and stuff like that vegetation will grow up to be a really nice little walking path and everything for the community.
I actually just had a couple questions about the landscaping plan, but the road, so this back end of the property is Sackett Farm, which is also part of Sackett Gardens, correct?
I believe that's right.
So.
They're two separate parcels.
Okay, so I looked at the map right here, where the back end is in Sackett Farm, so I assumed it was. Do we know what that road is supposed to eventually go to?
It's really just for planning purposes, for if that area were to ever get developed, it's just a stub road. We really do it in all of our communities. I'm sure there's a handful of other examples where we've stubbed roads to undeveloped properties, but it's really just if 20 years down the road, someone decides to sell and develop the property, they have a stub.
And maybe you could answer this. If you want to state your name and.
Yeah, I'm Justin McMaster. I have property right beside Sign Creek Gardens.
Right next to it,
Yeah,
So-
on Curve.
on her road. Let me see if I can see it. Maybe not. I think I see maybe where your property line kind of would be.
I'm just to the east
Can I
side.
borrow you for a
Yes.
second to look? Maybe you can tell me, because then maybe that would help one day.
No.
So if you're Sackett, are you this?
I am this. This, yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I also,
This too?
yes.
Okay, so where this road is, what I'm asking about is ending still in
Yeah.
Sackett Farms.
It is.
Sackett
It is.
Gardens.
Sackett Gardens is up here, a separate parcel. So it is off the Sackett Farms.
Okay.
So that was one of my
So-
questions, is this road extending up at some point?
Yeah, so have you had any discussions with her, because they are
We have
working
not.
with the county to use that property with, the reason why they worked with Sackett Gardens is because they're using it with, can't remember the exact term, something to do with agriculture in Delaware County.
Okay.
So I don't know that that's ever gonna be,
Yeah,
an option for a road there.
Right.
So you may want to have a discussion with her, about that stuff there, because I feel like it going right to the property line, it doesn't, I don't know. It kind of feels like it interrupts that tree line or that boundary line.
yeah. It'll obviously stop at our property line, so it won't affect that property or any of the trees or anything there. It's really just whether it's in our lifetimes or 100 years from now, if someone ever does decide to do something with that, they'll probably regret not having a stub to that road and having to possibly get an easement from our HOA or whatever it would be to build a road through there to connect. it's just, really proper planning practice.
And also too, because that's an agricultural, I'm guessing an agriculturally zoned property,
Mhm.
that there might be a fence required between the two. So
Yeah,
making sure to check on that.
Yep.
Um,
double check that.
But again, also they all have suggested is the boundary line, that like we see the street trees, but, I know that it touched on preservation of trees around the outside of the property and the tree
Yeah,
line.
of course.
But obviously for the surrounding neighbors that are here, to make sure it's not an open view or,
Definitely.
again, for future and vice versa.
Yeah.
So, that was it. And then to touch on the encroachment, I was thinking the 9.5, like if there's a way to make sure it's not bay window to bay window
Yeah,
at 9.5, that it's, staggered somehow.
Right.
It would ever end up that way.
that's how we usually do that. I mean, most of the times we'll do that with like driveways too. That way 2 driveways aren't really close together, and we'll stagger the headings of the driveways. And naturally, our lot sizes and how we program the lots for which ones will get built on which lot will all depend on, the customer is obviously able to select their floor plan, but then they can select whether or not they want a 4-foot garage storage bump or a third car garage, which adds to it. So really, I mean, that's always our goal, is to make sure that not every house is just box on top of box on top of box. That way there's a little bit of a diversity. So similar to with the bay windows, to make sure that stays diverse as well.
And then have you gotten any feedback as far as parking like street parking is concerned?
Not from any of our customers, no. I mean, we have a parking lot, or we will have a parking lot at the clubhouse in the middle there that's getting developed right now. Obviously a parking lot by the dog park and the community garden. So no real concern with parking that we've heard yet from our residents.
That's different.
I remember my question. It was about sideless garages, which is something that in many cases we've asked for about 25% sideloads. There was some language about it. But ask you to, give us some
Yes, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we do, is it 25% or is it 15% side load garages here? I gotta look back at the text.
language, so,
It is
It should,
25.
it has been 25.
Okay, then it's the exact same. It's the exact same as what it has been for the overall development. That I can confirm. I was blanking on whether or not it was 15 or 25.
well, and I marked it, but it said that it could be done, but it wasn't required. Anybody else remember that language?
So specific, I mean, I can speak to specific.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going, I mean, this, I can guarantee that it is 25% for the entire job. This section of lots specifically is all our smaller lots, so those won't have any side loads in this back section. But that's how it was contemplated in the original zoning.
So there would be a greater concentration of side loads in other parts
Yes,
to kind of balance that out.
that's right. Yes.
Bring it up.
I have a couple. Let's see, on the rear yards with the, beginning with approach 10 foot into the, rear yard setback, 25 feet.
Yes.
Is that limited to patios, or are you doing a secondary, rear yard setback for the purpose, do you allow sheds and stuff like that?
So sheds are on a lot by lot basis. If people want to build it, they have to go to the HOA and basically get approval there. But that specific setback is just for the porches, no actual, building structure of the home, vertical structure, I should say. It's just
You also
pure.
have to get a building permit.
That's right.
Okay. In other words, you're not restricted, is what I'm saying.
Correct.
Okay.
That's right.
So this is basically a secondary rear yard setback for
Decks and
the decks,
patios and
so patios, sheds and so on. Since you have a pool and stuff, are you contemplating any pools, private?
No, in our HOA, we rarely, one, the lots aren't really big enough for in-ground pools, and we restrict above ground pools. We'll allow hot tubs in some cases, but yeah.
Let's see, on the no-mo, I saw your thing in there where, and we had some discussion with the board on that before, where it says 1 to 4 times, which is a little bit ambiguous. We had talked about doing it by height requirement. In some years, it's gonna be different than others. Are you amenable to that?
I think that's,
I think that would be better than saying 1 to 4, so take your pick. I think it would be better to
The
say.
only thing is, it's hard then to get a landscaping company, in my opinion, to commit to that, because at the beginning of the year, when they're entering the contract, because dealing with the NOMO, like next door, like there's 2 huge sections that are NOMO, and like negotiating a contract is a pain in the butt. Like just dealing with it in general, because we try to save some money on that. And also to comply with Berlin Township's requirement for the NOMO, because you don't want to overmow it and then if the neighbor's upset, they can hear. But having them, I don't even know how the landscape is. I mean, I don't know, Tara, like how would you even build that into your quote?
So we would just say, again, it would be, we would quote 4 times say 4 times a year, then we would be at request of the HOA when
I just wish we wouldn't even have it, because it's like, it's so hard to.
Some people don't, as far as, you know.
Enforcing it is a
So
problem.
what if we said a minimum of 2 times a year, maximum of 4 times a year?
That's just why I brought it up.
Yeah.
Because everybody seems to have different, whether they want to leave it no-mo, whether something.
It's not even used at all, in my opinion.
What's anybody want to do?
I think it's the definition of no-mow too, like a pollinator garden is different, and wildflowers and things are different than an actual just no-mow area, because you're, again, saving money and time, because it's not an area that's used often, it's just a bush off every.
And the landscapers get confused about when they're supposed to mow it, and it's like, and then it gets very weedy, even if you have it fertilized, and it looks like you're just not, it looks like you're just not mowing the yard, and it looks like crap. I don't know, it's, in my opinion, it's a pain to, deal with in general, and I don't know.
This is your fault.
Yeah. Oh, we discussed that. wasn't we?
No, that was on my.
The HOA doesn't like it, the people that live in the community don't like it, because it's in their backyard, and they get critters. The neighbors on the other side complain about it, because then they get critters, because nobody likes it except for.
I like it. No, I mean, I like it because it's a visual barrier. I mean, it does, block my visibility on my property line, and it's something I don't really want to see.
Except for like the neighbors that live next to this and all complain about that, they like it mowed.
Yeah.
It's opinion, and we have the same conversation with fences. Some people want a fence, other people hate a fence, and I don't know how we actually make that. I don't know. Yeah, we don't know either.
I mean, our neighbors here have complained about it, we've got calls actually to the township saying it's not,
It's
and
uncounted,
they're
right?
getting critters, so it's like.
I imagine Levi
Matters here.
I imagine Levi gets those calls. I used to get those calls. I used to get those calls.
And that's what I like, and I guess it depends what you're using as the no-mow substance,
Right.
because a wildflower field is
Yeah,
totally
what are you
different
trying
than
to
just,
achieve?
grasses. If it's a nicer grass, or if you're just letting your grass grow, like a regular tall fescue grow to 400 feet, it's different.
I think it's gonna grow a lot more though, when you're getting a lot of rain, so I sure see that concept too.
So what are we doing on the other sections?
So
no-nos.
we've done, it depends on the year. It really is 1 to 4 times, probably right around twice, I would assume. Really just depends on how high they grow, and we really let it be determined by our landscape guys at Blended Gardens. They do a great job of, just knowing that stuff where we lack the expertise and don't necessarily think about it as often as they do or the neighbors do. So we obviously pass it on to the HOA to determine what, their specific homeowners like area they're living in. Obviously it's not gonna get overmowed to your point of that's why there's a cap of the 4 times a year, but, yeah, we really,
This is part of the same HOA as the rest of it, right?
that's exactly.
So I would think that kind of keeping.
We can't make a change now.
Yeah, I think that they are limited on what changes you can make to that.
It's something I think moving forward that we
It's,
start to.
And that
we do our landscaping.
It's typically the trustees that are the ones that want it, not us, per se. It's who usually puts it in.
One other question, not really to be into this, but with the private road extension, now, yeah, it's a county road, but are you working in conjunction that part of that is your responsibility to build through the extension?
So once it was our responsibility to build to where, our property lines lined in, but then after that, it's all up to the county.
Yes.
Or
So does it go clear to the end of yours now?
Because
I didn't drive there.
No, it isn't constructed all the way to the end. It's still at kind of the one stub on Berlin East, the original stuff, and then it'll get extended up.
So you'll be doing that.
any questions further before we open it up to our audience?
I have one, the retention ponds in this section, will they get fountains?
That's a good question.
I
What
believe
is,
in the
I guess-
approved, language from the trustees, it specified fountains for those.
then the answer is yes. Whatever the previous sections, it's the same thing.
Yeah, David. And then-
Yeah, yeah, I didn't know if it was, next, I'm not sure if it is or not.
I didn't see it.
Okay.
I did read.
And then as far as just, to touch on the Stub Street, I've sat in a lot of the, sketch meetings with, the builders and then the public county entities. And that's usually something that happens at the request of the county engineers. They kind of determine where Stub Streets are gonna go.
Good place to ride your scooter and,
There's basketball hoop.
Yeah, and that's what they usually do. Basketball hoops.
it's a long way to drive.
That's that for me, those are the 2 things.
All right, audience members, if you would like to make comments or ask questions, this is your time. Get out there, we'd like to hear what you've got to say.
You can stay up here and help answer, or you guys want to take the podium?
You can stay where you're at, and, just state your name and address for us.
Yeah, my name is Justin McMaster, and I'm at 3046 Curve Road. I have the properties that we were talking about earlier that are adjacent to the Sac Farm, so the garden. My question is similar to Tara's, where you have that road that it stubs at the end of the Sac Farm. Would it be more appropriate for it to be more like a turnaround? Assuming cars are gonna come down there, and then there's no really place to turn around. So just food for thought for the.
I think it does.
Yeah, it specifies it's a turnaround.
Yeah, it does.
There's a-
Okay. I guess it's something. And then I was curious, as to that, is there an application pending or one that's being planned to extend that all the way up to Curve Road? Just the way it looked, maybe you think that could be.
Not
Other than that.
I can't speak for the county, but.
And the third and final is similar with the concern around drainage. That area behind the back end of Second Farms kind of ties in a little bit of my back area. The drainage is just a real issue. It has been, I think, for many years. And any building that's occurred seems to make it worse and worse. So, yeah, I was just not knowing enough about the application and how it proceeds. Just caution that area in the back. I know there's a retention pond and some other areas, just to make sure that we're not making that area even worse than what it really is. Is the elevation being made higher where the homes are? So I know there's a huge amount of dirt, it seems like it's building it up, which would then cause drainage to go down into those lower areas that aren't being.
That's correct. So it's not being built up where it's like 5 feet, where it's now here, all of a sudden we're gonna be up here, but it's just being graded and dirt is being placed on it where there's, it'll be, maybe a foot or so higher. And, as previously said, kind of with your question earlier, all stormwater has been checked by the county. I know there's been some issues, I believe, on maybe the northeast side, of our.
Pretty much this whole area here.
That area,
It's
okay,
really bad.
yeah.
Naturally, so.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we have seen since prior to us even being here. There was kind of always been an issue, and it was kind of our goal to be able to help some of the neighbors, and I think we might have even put a ditch along like our north side here to help with some of that. And that'll just be kind of an ongoing discussion, and I'd be happy to help connect you with our on-site guys and make sure that when we are out there developing those future phases, that we can do our best to mitigate as much of that flooding and offsite water.
Yeah, that would be helpful. I'm just concerned if this elevation comes up,
Yeah.
I could bring it down to that same area. That's already a problem.
Yeah. Gotcha.
That's all.
Any comments? No? Anything you want to add?
I'm not really sure where we are on this map. On 1158 Daleford Road, and ever since this project started, I've had a flooding problem in my yard. I've talked to them numerous times. This last time they did look like they took a dozer sideways and pushed dirt up against my property, or it's really their property, but mine wants up to it. So I won't get the water, but the drainage has been terrible back there. Because they piled dirt over my head and it all drained down onto me. Then they came in and did a couple stupid things that didn't help at all. And then they dug a ditch, which helped, but when the ditch got full, it still all drained over into me. And the person that lives in front of me, they dug a ditch back to his pasture area, saying that it was supposed to drain. Well, that's not what happened. All the water went in there into his pasture, which my property sits a little lower than his. So everything that went in his pasture also drained into my property. And they've been out there to look at it several times. A couple times there was mud clear to Daleford Road.
Can you state your name?
Lydia Daleford, 1158. My house is in trustee, is Brenda Swingle. My house is at trust.
Okay.
But ever since they have really started building, it's been, the drainage on that side is terrible. Now, I have to wait until another storm comes to see, because this last thing they did, which was just a couple weeks ago, maybe it's 3 weeks, helps. But the thing is they dug the swell wider, so it holds the water, well, the water goes nowhere. It has no place to go.
So is it a basin? You're saying it's a basin then, the swell that they dug, is it just a basin? It doesn't drain out, does it drain out anywhere?
No,
Or it's basically like
it
a
just
man-made
stays
pond?
there.
Okay.
They've got a pond just down from it, but it doesn't go there.
Is she referring to reserve, is that your app?
It's O, I believe, Reserve O, and you can't really see on these.
Oh, I see, yeah, reserve, there's just no,
You can see her
There's no
lot,
circle,
but
yeah.
not the area southeast of it.
yep, there's just no dotted line in reserve, okay.
So like when she's reporting these issues, who's dealing with it? Is it engineers that are coming out?
Yeah, it's our on-site team and contractors as well as our engineers to help try and mitigate as much as possible. And that's what the purpose of the swale was along our property line, was to try and help mitigate some of the drainage issue, because that area still hasn't been developed yet, where that abuts to your property. So the goal is obviously, once it is developed, that will help everything rather than it just being wet, kind of not unused farm ground right now.
Where will that water go though?
So it will eventually go to the existing basin. It's just, the issue is with it being undeveloped still, it just doesn't drain the same way that it is engineered to be drained post-development, right?
So how long is that process gonna be before her property is gonna be drained?
So we're developing that specific section. What section is that?
12,
It was what, 12?
section 12.
Yeah, so,
Well, section 12 is what's, so
no,
that section that butts up against her section 12, but where that reserve O is in section 9. It's part of this final development.
Yeah, it's like, the majority of where the drainage issue is though is section 12.
Okay.
so that's what we tried to mitigate and will be developed eventually. And that's why we've been trying to, get our guys out there as much as be able to help mitigate. To us being there, and we're just trying to mitigate kind of a problem that's already been existing.
It sounds like it was,
Made worse.
it sounds like her problem started with you guys
Right,
showing
when
up.
they piled dirt over my head.
So how much time, like how long until section 12 is done?
So it's probably, I would say, two years.
So for the next 2
when we
years, this is
that
how she's gonna.
out there and working on temporary solutions until it is built. We've been trying to be work to mitigate the issue, right?
Yeah.
I don't
I mean, it
think,
sounds like you're
I
just,
don't think you would think you were a good neighbor if that was your yard and you tried to keep it looking good.
Yeah, no, and I understand, I understand that you've had, and I don't want it to continue to happen. That's why we're working as hard as we can to mitigate it, basically get rid of that issue.
Have either one of you contacted Delaware County Soil and Water? I think
Who?
Del-
To somebody else.
Did you go there?
I went there and
You talked to me, I forwarded all the information to MI, asked them to please take care of this. I believe that's.
I talked to MI, I can't tell you how many times, I can't tell you how many times we text.
Been in touch with the trustee.
And it's just been a constant problem for a couple of years now.
Yeah, and I apologize that this has been such a problem for you, and I really am sorry. We're trying our best to try and.
Well, the
find
last
ways
thing
to
you
fix
did looks like it might work, except the water still doesn't go anywhere. It's just a larger ditch.
Mhm. No, I understand that, yeah, like I said, we're working as hard as we can to try.
We'll count on you guys to keep at it together.
Hopefully maybe you can take some of those lessons. It sounds like you're gonna go. I mean, it's, react in these types of situations to
Right.
what's happening. Obviously, we kind of go with what, neighborhood was for spring,
Yeah.
but, hopefully they figured out the solution. Hopefully this last solution is gonna hold.
Well, hopefully, it's not 2 more years.
Right.
Great. All right, any other comments? Well, we would like to go ahead and have us vote on your, final plan. Do we, what request, and about mentions, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think so. The only reason why I asked the question is because and I'm trying to figure out exactly where the path, all of the path is, because for the existing stuff, that's already been approved and through final development plan. It would only be for 9 and 11, those phases that would get benches, which, again, if you guys want just those sections, I think we would be open to throwing in a handful of benches along those, trails,
We
but
missed it
there
on the other
wouldn't be.
ones. We missed
Which-
it on the other ones. That doesn't sound like us.
Especially if it's gay.
Yeah, well, that's the only thing that I would say is it just doesn't match the existing stuff and what has been approved, but
I feel like
as I said, we.
With that
back.
back, it being in kind of in the back northeast corner of that neighborhood, like, it's
Sure.
almost its own separate pathway back there that I don't think it's gonna not match,
I think it would be fine to do it on that portion, because if nothing else, it's going to help the HOA out in the long run, if they wanna put more. And looking at this, it looks like it comes right down to, because it's also section 7, comes right down to where the pool is.
Yes.
So I would say yes, let's actually put wording in there,
Okay.
on benches. And I would probably say,
I mean, I would agree, this is a pretty long path. I know the rest of it has to. That whole circle around the flower area, detention pond, is kind of remote from everything else. I mean, it's hard to get the scale of it, I guess.
Sure.
I don't know, what do you think?
so I would kind of just pinpoint some,
I might get the HOA to ask them for put them in on rest. Some of those last, that's a good thing.
I would actually say that I would want to see 2 up by the dog park.
Okay, one on kind of like north and south, is that what you're?
Along the path would be fine.
Yeah, but like there's a path that runs, like it's a loop that goes around the vegetation there. I was gonna say,
So I'm actually saying right at the dog park, but then yes, I would want to see a couple there as well.
Okay,
So at the dog park, I would say having 2 benches there.
okay,
And then I would do 3 around the loop of the vegetation. Although, you know what, 1 is under an electrical easement, I don't think anyone's gonna set under the easement. So probably 2.
like, I would do one back by the pond, like where the pond and the
Yeah.
path intersect.
The retention pond in the path, yeah.
So you can see that if you're looking at the pond or the
Okay.
path.
And then I had 1 midway between the Berlin Way and the pond as well. So I had 1 at the pond and 1 midway up, basically where the bird nest is.
or do you just wanna draw on that website?
Yeah, so I
Everybody
had,
knows that. That's what you're.
I had bench, bench, and kind of behind the lots. And over here, and so I'm just kind of trying to like
Yeah, space them is, okay.
Yeah, so,
Let me play devil's advocate. I can't see where you put those benches, but do any of those seem like they, would really be doing right in somebody's backyard?
You don't wanna be by pollinator mix also, only people wanna sit in these, just FYI.
those aren't in pollinator mixes, no. So.
I'm just saying, I don't know where you put them, but.
Are down by the, so between lot 440, T 440, and 405, that whole one, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, I have 4. So basically along that path, before you get to the dog park, I have 4. Kind of equally spaced in that section.
Okay.
So I would say 3 to 4 in that section,
Okay.
and maybe, making sure that you have one if there truly is going to be a pond there where reserve O is. Just nicely placed. Do you want to write those lot numbers down?
Yeah, so the, 334 by the clubhouse, you want three to
3 to
4
4,
evenly spaced? Okay, and then 1 by the retention pond and the or I guess not by the pollinator mix.
Bird
One
mix.
on the, probably on the back, yeah, back.
Yeah, the bird mix.
On the bird mix, and then 1 at the dog park.
One at the dog park, I think is fine.
Okay, so like 5 to 6, depending on.
I would say maybe one by that, like the curve where the dog park and the curve of around the parking lot. Cute.
Yeah, that's where I was putting the 1 by the dog park was kind of, well, I can just. Yeah, that was, one there, 1 by, in between retention and the bird mix, and then 3 to 4 along the rest of the path.
So I have 7, I counted 7. So you have 3 up there between the dog park and that reserve area.
Oh, sorry, I only had 2. Where was the third? I had 1 by retention, in between retention and bird mix, and then 1.
No, there's actually 1 at the pond, at the retention pond. There's 1 at the retention pond.
Okay,
Right.
so there's 1 there and 1 there. Okay,
Yeah.
I just had that one, I didn't have that one.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that can, yeah. 1 there, and then 1. Okay. I think that's fine by us.
I think I'm pretty open to that, because we do.
Yeah, no, of course, I know that's one of your guys' hot buttons, and just what wasn't in here originally, but had to make the change, and we'll definitely take note for future, developments. I know we did it at the Bluffs and Allen Creek along that, the one we were just in there for. Had some active benches.
Anybody with a rifle?
Or our lawyer.
Yeah,
Tara's happy, all right.
I wrote it once, and it was really bad. I had scribbles.
Tell us where he wants it written.
Do. All right. You know, I'll do that.
Where do you want the language written to be able to be signed? Edges.
Certain maps.
We can pull it out, just pull out one of the maps for this. Do it right here. For the conditions. Who has the neatest writing?
Sarah.
You want to mark it on the map?
Specify the boundaries as well.
Okay.
You want to mark where you put your.
me, I can't even hardly read my head.
And then just 3 to 4.
So you said typing everything.
All right, tell me what to write. Handwriting, give me the wording. Jenny, you're the lawyer.
Retention pond shall have,
I think there's multiple retention ponds, there's 2.
Yeah, 2 retention.
yeah,
And I'm still looking for that. For some reason, I thought there was in here, but if it's not.
I swear I saw it too, but.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, to additionally, all ponds shall have a fountain or fountains depending on the size of each and is reasonably necessary.
Okay.
So it's in the development text section.
Perfect.
Section.
I just missed it, thank you.
So wait, does it talk about the headers and all that?
Yeah, that was,
So-
yeah, ponds with head walls and end walls that are exposed to view shall be treated with real or synthetic stone resembles to.
Perfect, okay, thank you.
Yep.
I didn't see that.
I knew it was in there. I was like, where
Did
what
too.
is this?
All right, so, 7 total benches will be added as indicated on that.
yeah, well,
And section, can we just say section?
yeah, do you wanna say that, as indicated below, you can say, 1 by the retention pond?
You could just circle the areas on the
I
map.
had it marked on
Yeah.
that.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think you understand that.
The exhibit.
Hearing and what that going into it.
Yeah, of course. That's why I appreciated the range of just trying to figure out where it is and making sure it's not on the back of lots. We'll make sure they're spaced, not just all in one little cluster.
Is that on the other?
It's not really that.
Well, don't the other ones have the other farm trails, because like if you look at this, these are all
Oh,
sidewalks.
It may
Yeah.
go back to the
It
original.
really does.
Yeah, they were all sidewalks.
Yeah, this is the biggest.
All walking paths, and I don't know exactly the width of them, if they were 8 foot or 5 foot, but there was, I believe, walking paths in the other
That
side.
might be the difference, it's just not the multi-use path, but a sidewalk.
And there might be that garden area, because there's also like
Right.
a retention pond there, the little dock. So they may have been focused there.
They're not very long, those are maintenance, like.
West side.
That may be the difference.
We may have seen
Key
that.
line. This is, oh my God. Stroll.
Well,
Or do you
something's
mention
been got
that's
that
three,
for the
Maybe
commission.
67 if you want.
That's
I
been a
would
long
say,
road.
so that was quite a few years ago.
That was,
And I caught a no-no from the previous trustee on that one, it was Delaware County.
oh, I remember.
That's really make sure it's
Yeah.
consistent.
Yeah, the way we
I was happy.
calculated the density, I remember. That was,
Do we want 7 total, or I said 3 to 4 benches here, so along this part, and there's 3 total up here. So I put 6 and
That's
7 up
fine,
here.
yeah.
That way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Copies of that for.
You want to sign that, so.
not
Thank you.
You guys wanna make that an exhibit, since it's separate? Do you wanna make
That's a
that
good idea,
as
yeah,
an exhibit, so people know it's not just a random page in the book?
yes. Yes.
Right.
So like exhibit 1, are there, what are exhibits, how are these?
These are, they're labeled exhibit like E
A1,
by appendix.
Are they all letters?
the exhibits are A1 and then through M.
Yeah,
You can hit, if you just exhibit one, or if, just in case.
exhibit
10
one
years
is,
from
it's
now.
the very beginning. Yeah.
Oh, there is an exhibit one?
No, I'm saying you could say exhibit one, have it be at the very beginning.
And that way, for enforcement purposes in the future,
Yeah.
you know, something random.
It's still considered a condition, right?
Yeah. Yeah, oh yeah, so, and you can say as shown on exhibit one, and we can make sure it's in the file, and label it as exhibit one. You know, as a user on the road, it's hard to tell.
You know, it is, some of these have gone on for 10 years, and it's hard after that much time.
Yeah.
To look back.
We just ask Ray. Ray knows everything.
No, I'm not gonna anyway.
Thanks, Lizzie, you're just saying,
Can I
okay.
have that?
She's right.
Yeah, mine like a steel trap.
So Levi, we're gonna make that exhibit one.
Okay.
Look how long the reader is. I don't know any perspective with that. So that's like, yeah.
Okay,
But it went fast too. It's got approved. It's like, here to.
I'll just put the change it. This one I'll put in my book, this one is illegal.
So that's the sign.
Do you want the motion to say the exhibit and, okay,
Yeah.
to include it, you want the wording?
Let's just go back and-
Oh, okay.
This one, I have a leak.
You want me to say it?
Yes.
Can I have a copy? Can I have that copy?
This one?
In order to. Can I make a motion? Okay. I'll make a motion to approve BZC 18-003, Berlin Town Development Plan for phases 7, 9, and 11. With, conditions called out as exhibit, what will be exhibit 1. The conditions include 7 total benches will be added along walking path as indicated by rectangular and text on the map below. So the benches have been called out, so it's 6 to 7 benches. Would anyone like to second?
Second the motion.
That's the only condition, right? Just one.
That's the only condition.
Ms. Brown,
Yes.
Ms. Kaplan,
Yes.
Mr. DeCristro,
Yes.
Ms. Slows,
Yes.
Ms. Shields.
Yes. Your, motion is passed and approval is fine by you, Angela?
Yep, I vote first.
Oh. It's been a long night.
I think you said me first.
Yeah, you made the.
Yeah, I made a motion.
Okay, that's why,
I think if I said I make the motion, then that's.
well, I was calling it the person
Yeah.
first. I
Okay,
Okay, sure.
all right.
Start it out.
Include that, we're going to discuss possible amendments to our zoning resolution.
Do you guys have anything to add to it? Scott Sanders has the red line copy that I'd sent out and is currently reviewing it.
That's good. That's good.
So I did start a nice long document.
Okay.
And it has, I went on to Acorn Farm, which is where we get all our trees and everything as a wholesaler. So all the trees available and plants available are within this zone. And I just can't find it on my computer right now, just like my lovely notebook. So I will put it in recovery mode and find it, I promise. But basically what I did was created groups of like evergreen trees, called out, size requirements and then street trees and, what types of trees are allowed, not allowed, and group them. I mean, I went through all the different types of pines, what will work and what will not work, just to give a good call out of, you know, like we talked about with the pines and how they grow up and you cut them off and they don't provide privacy. So, but I took a really long time researching a lot of things. So I did start that, and it's a work in progress. And then I have been making notes and using those notes to talk about like the no-mow sections, weeds, just looking at other townships as far as what their requirements are for some of those things. So I've got kind of compiled a list together of that too, and I'll take that. I was like, finally, I made progress.
Let's make it happen, Scott. Maybe you can send that, or please discuss and send it too. So hopefully before the summer's out, we can have this sent to the trustees for some evaluation. Can we help you, Paul? Need a teenager to recover your file? I don't have one, but.
No, I'm using it. But again, I went back over it now before I left, and I was like, okay, it was at the end of this document, where is it? And so, and I'm like, did I put it somewhere else, or did I? You know, and then I got to the point where I was like, maybe I dreamt that I did it. And it's like, no, I did it. And it's been a long time. But no, I appreciate your patience. This is peak
You're busy,
landscaping.
so.
This is peak landscaping season for us.
Busy
Yeah. And my husband is by himself, and he's got 2 crazy discs, so we're just pushing through, trying to finish stuff done. So, patience with me.
Levi, do you have anything?
I do. My last day with the township will be July 18th.
Oh
I've gotta do some stuff for my family and
Levi!
Oh man, we're gonna miss you.
I've learned a lot. It's been good. Just an opportunity arose and I gotta take it.
How's,
All right, Ray.
Don't
Coming
you look
back?
at
But in the meantime, I am trying to have everything hearing-wise set up for, like, I've just been, but that's why there wasn't a report with this. I've just been really busting my hump to get anything coming forward so the advertisements are ready and exhibit lists and everything for whoever's filling it for me.
Is the problem that we're training people too well?
No, I won't be, I probably won't be back in small government anytime soon, but it's not necessarily a Berlin Township thing. It's just, I need to do something else. So,
Burned out on zoning.
burned out on zoning,
Yeah,
yeah.
I have to after a few,
12
15 years, yeah,
15
I was gonna
years.
say 15.
and we still, do not have anybody in the zoning secretary position.
We have interviewed 3 people. 2 of them are coming back for second interviews.
Wait, we don't
Wait,
I said we lost the zone.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't know that.
We lost the,
All right, I did not know that.
She was let go a week or 2 ago.
oh, okay.
Anybody want a part-time job? Full-time job? 2 full-time jobs?
I keep telling Jen it's gonna be great.
Oh, wow.
Doesn't like that.
Oh, Levi, well, I hope it's good news for you. It's not good news for us, but we get it.
I know my wife will be happier, so,
Okay, that's important.
and my kids. So that's what's important for me right now.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
Wow, so this is your last meeting with
This
us?
is
Oh,
it.
it is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'd like to commend him on his excellent work here. He's been-
Oh, yeah.
It's been years.
I
He
appreciate
did
it.
such a great job. So many compliments I hear about him.
Yeah, you've elevated our, everything.
Thank you.
Hope
It's
we
been
can
good
keep
to
it
meet
up.
you all, yeah.
Mhm.
Hope we can keep it up. Wow. Wow, okay. Hmm. Will they post your job or have they, or?
I'm not sure what they're gonna do. I know I didn't just spring this on them like yesterday or something, so there's a plan in place, but I'm not sure if it's approved or, so I don't want to speak to it.
Okay.
Raise back.
Raise back.
He's like, I'm not part of the plan.
Is there anything scheduled for the 22nd?
As of now, there's nothing.
Should we go ahead and cancel the meeting?
What you have coming up is Ross Estates, so Peach Blow Crossing, the school, the lot between there and Norris or Ravinia that was just done. It's the Evans Farm people, but it's not part of Evans Farm. They just submitted they submitted new plans yesterday or the day before. And they've resubmitted in a fashion where it meets the R1.85 DRE. So instead of like cramming in more smaller units, so.
So that'll be coming up in August, I guess.
That should be in August, yes.
No, I will not be here.
The 22nd.
Yeah.
Well, then I think we should cancel it because really the biggest agenda item we could potentially have would deal with our resolution. So as a handoff, the stuff that Scott's doing, do you think he's gonna have that returned before you leave?
I will reach out to him and see where he's at, if he's had it, how far into it he is.
Kind of know.
I may CC you in the email just so
Sure.
just to make contact with him.
Okay.
I don't know if you've worked with Scott before, but he's pretty good. I like it.
Yeah.
I like him a lot.
Yeah. He's good. Okay. Dang, I hate that.
Okay.
But I get it. Well, we will miss you.
Well, I appreciate that. I've enjoyed it.
Dang.
You can tell. It's one of those positions that if you don't, if you're not liking it, you can tell.
Yeah.
And you obviously have.
Yeah.
So you bring a good, fresh air to things.
I appreciate that. Try to anything I'm doing. Keep a positive attitude.
Okay.
You're becoming a professional fisherman.
God, I wish that was it. I'll run that by my wife. We'll see.
Then we'll see if she really likes it.
Yeah.
She'll tell you to come back to work.
Yeah, sure, but we gotta have a job, so.
Too funny. Okay, I don't. Is there anything else? No? Okay, we do have minutes to sign, and we're good for you, but let's adjourn. I don't have my thing, so.
I knew I forgot something, not that
Your
good.
last duty. There you go. Okay.
So we are,
Adjourn.
we are canceling the 22nd.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't make that clear. Yes.
Following the meeting, the first one of August, I will be here, because my go live is the week before.
I think I might